our final story is Common Dreams. Julia, our friend Julia. Did anybody hear about what happened in Montana? Yes, Common Dreams is a Indie Media Award honoree. Excellent publication. They also, by the way, are doing their mid-year campaign to raise money. It's the end of the quarter coming up, so they have filings and they're looking for donations at commondreams.org. So support them there as well. They are probably top to bottom, my favorite staff. I love Consortium News too. It's 1-2, Common Dreams Consortium News. I can name a lot of the people that write over at Common Dreams, and I probably know more of the staff writers over there. Julia is one of the excellent staff writers, Julia Conley. She's outstanding. Brett Wilkins and Jake Johnson and Andrea Hermanos and John Quayle. And then I saw that Craig Brown was actually making an appeal for donations. He's one of the founding members. But so train go boom and train go splish splash in Stillwater County,
like
Montana.
Segment.
Yeah, almost. Well, you know what? You can probably add a trains smashing into something segment because there are a ton of these things happening. But there was a Montana train derailment, which raises fears of similar disasters on proposed Uinta Basin Railway in, I believe, Illinois. So, Julia, I was going to actually pick a corporate media story about this, and then earlier today I saw that Julia had put out a story, and I figured I'd grab that one instead. But a freight train derailment and the collapse of a bridge over the Yellowstone River in Montana on Saturday raised alarm as several cars carrying asphalt and molten sulfur tumbled into the river, prompting officials to take emergency measures and nearby water plants. Yay! The incident also brought to mind for some critics the Biden administration's plan, here we go, to move forward with a railway project along the Colorado River, one that could place the drinking water for 40 million people at risk as trains transport crude oil from eastern Utah's United Basin, it's Utah, not Illinois, to national rail lines. Good idea. The substances solidified quickly once exposed to the cold water in the Yellowstone River on Saturday, and Stillwater County Emergency Services told Chief David Stamey told the New York Times that the solidification could limit the potential harmful effects to the environment. Could, but likely won't. Sulfur, of course, is commonly used as an insecticide, a fungicide, rodenticide, and is often used in fertilizers. Sulfur is not a good thing.
Yep.
As a precaution, well, maybe. But water treatment plant officials in Yellowstone and Stillwater counties temporarily shut down water intake until all the material had flowed past Billings, which lies about an hour's drive east of the derailment site. Authorities also asked residents to conserve water. About 167,000 people live in Yellowstone County, while roughly 9,000 people live in Stillwater. Their Stillwater is about to become contaminated. Name. What?
Yep. The ironic name.
Yes. It's about to become contaminated Stillwater. The freight train was operated by Montana Rail Link.
Don't you think?
Yep. Whose spokesman told the Times that 2 cars were also carrying sodium hydrosulfate, which can cause serious eye damage on exposure. Nice.
And chemical burns and Yep.
So neither of these cars have entered the water, and initial air quality assessments have been performed and confirmed there is no release associated with the 2 cars. 10 cars in total derailed. Montana Rail Link said no one was injured in the accident. Robert Bay, a retired engineering professor at the University of Cal Berkeley, told the AP, narrative managers for a corporate establishment, that recent heavy rains may have played a role in the collapse of the bridge. Quote, the high water flow translates to high forces acting directly on the pier and, importantly, on the river bottom. You can have erosion or scour that removes support from the foundation. High forces translate to a likelihood of a structural or foundation failure that could act as a trigger to initiate the accident. That's a nice way of saying that the thing collapsed. Right? The cause of the derailment and collapse are, of course, being investigated. All right, so you've got Ted Zukowski, and so he's talking about this. He tweets that the Uinta Basin Railway will funnel up to 5 trains 2 miles long daily along the Colorado River from Palisade to Granby, thus making this kind of accident more likely in Colorado. Train derails into Montana jails. It certainly can be. So for about 100 miles of railroad, it's close enough to the river, take it to the river, that if you're sitting in a raft in the middle of it, you could throw a rock and hit the railroad. That's a good idea. So Democratic Senators Michael Bennett and John Hickenlooper, both heavy corporatists, and Representative Joe Negus, I've never heard of him, all of Colorado, told U.S. Transportation Secretary Mayo Pete in a letter earlier this year. They wrote him a very strongly worded letter urging him to oppose the project. The public-private alliance between Uinta Basin Railway appears to have no plan to mitigate the harm of a potential accident or derailment in Colorado, which could particularly be difficult to address given Colorado's mountainous terrain. You know the shit's going through, right?
No train problems here.
You know the shit's going through. Because Mayo Pete never met a corporate solution that he didn't implement. So in addition to worsening...
How homophobic of you, sir.
How dare you? I need the...
How dare you?
I need that Richard Ojeda sound. How dare you?
How dare you? Best I can do is...
How dare you?
The best I can do.
Well, I'll take that for an environmental disaster here. So in addition to worsening the climate crisis by supporting the increased production of 350,000 barrels of oil per day, the Utah Clean Infrastructure Coalition has said in a fact sheet on the project that the heavy, long oil tanker trains used to transport crude oil pose greater risks of derailment and spills than other freight trains, and an increased risk of fire due to derailment and spilling of the combustible oil. And the only way I'm seeing this is in this article because I'm blocked by this nice man, friend of the show, David Sirota.
He's a nice guy. He's nice.
He's a nice boy. Not so much.
He's nice.
He's an arrogant piece of garbage, and we're not a big fan anymore.
Well, he's nice.
What's sad is I used to have nothing but the utmost heartfelt affection for that man. And he just turned around and peed all over that and everyone else that supported him. So he can fuck off.
He levered it.
Ah, I see what you did there. All right. Now, the county sheriff's office said that it was a great stroke of luck that none of the train cars that were carrying oil that would have polluted the Yellowstone. Was it really?
Yeah.
Did it really not spill at all? Who
did that? Who did that one?
That's Julia.
Good morning, Julia.
Nice. I built you this house and we're gonna go full throttle.
Everything you see behind me, I built everything. Every square inch from crown molding to chair rail to...
People are like, what's happening right now? They have